Hi everyone, this is a video for if you missed class today. Today we are doing a review for our summative assessment. This assessment is all about our immigration vocab, adjectives, and verbs. Our goal for today is I can show what I learned. So today we're going to start with a greeting. We'll do some review together. We'll play a Kahoot, and then it'll be time for you to take your test. So the greeting question for today is, how do you feel for today's test? Just a little check-in. How are you feeling? Let me know. So let's kind of go through and review our vocab. So our first word that we learned this unit was migration. Remember, migration means moving from one place to another place to live there. And I always remember that migration means moving because they start with those two M's, right? Migration, moving. It's a great way to remember it. Remember, if you haven't completed the word wall assignment, maybe you want to take a screenshot of this so you can have it for when you take your test. Our other word that we had was immigration. So remember, these vocab words are all very similar, but yet they're a little bit different. So it's important to realize, how are they similar and how are they different? The word immigration means to come to another country to live there. So that's the act of immigrating, like when people are coming to another country. Okay, so it's important to know that immigration is a noun because the word immigrate and immigration, they have the same definition. The only difference is immigration is a noun and immigrate is a verb. Immigrate means to come to another country to live there. Remember, we've learned that verbs are action words. So that means this is when people are literally moving. In this picture, people are walking, but maybe people are flying to get to a new country. They're on a boat to get to a new country. They're driving, right? When people are physically actually moving, whether it be walking, flying, running, sailing, driving, that's when they're coming. They have to be physically moving. Where immigration is more a thing we talk about. Like we talk about lots of people have come here from immigration, right? It's a noun, it's a thing. Our other vocab word was the word immigrant. An immigrant is a person who comes to a country to live there. So it's important to know that immigrant is a person, right? They're real people with real stories that we've taken some time in this unit to look at some of those stories. So remember this picture, I think it does a good job of helping remind us because it has the different people all over the map of the United States. We've also been learning about adjectives. Remember, an adjective is a word that describes a noun, and we can describe nouns in lots of ways. We can describe the color, the size, the shape, the taste, the smell, the texture, the sound, the number, the weather. There's lots of ways we can describe nouns. Again, if you don't have these vocab words, I recommend taking a screenshot of them so you can have them when you take the test. We've also learned about verbs. Remember, verbs are words that show action. It's like what's happening in the sentence. It's what they're doing. Here in this picture, we see lots of examples of different verbs, right? We see people batting, walking, standing, clapping, hopping, catching, crawling, hugging, jumping, dancing, reading, sitting, running, right? These are all things you can do. They're actions. And then we've also learned about past tense. Remember, past tense is a way to write your verbs so that you know they happened in the past. Okay? So those are our vocab words. Now let's kind of talk about them. So for immigration, why is it important to talk about it? Why is it important to talk about immigration? Well, for one, it's very common in the United States and around the world. A lot of people come to the United States, but people also come and go to other countries, right? Maybe I decide, hey, I want to go live in Australia. I can go and be an immigrant to Australia. It's also important to talk about because the United States was built by immigrants coming here, right? Everyone in the United States is an immigrant or an ancestor of an immigrant unless you are Native American. Native Americans are the only people who were rightfully here and were born here naturally. Everyone else has come here, whether it's your family, your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, maybe your great great grandparents, right? At some point, someone in your family was an immigrant to the United States. So it's important to talk about and recognize the history of our country. Why do people migrate or immigrate? Well, there's lots of reasons that people might migrate or immigrate to go and move to a new country. People might come for because it was not the best where they were living before, right? Maybe there was war, famine, drought, there was no jobs, maybe a bad government. There's a lot of people might come to a new place to try to get better jobs, to be with their families, just because they want to, maybe. Um, there's lots of reasons why people immigrate and migrate. Now let's talk about adjectives. Remember, adjectives are words that describe. We can describe things in lots of ways, right? Just take a look at this pen. There's so many ways I could describe this pen. I could say it's green. I can also say it's pattern because there's a pattern here in the middle. I can also say it's skinny. It's tall. It's long. It's curved. It's round, right? It has black ink in it. It has a gray tip. It has a black or green grip. It has a blue and green and white pattern, right? There's so many ways we can describe things. We can describe things by telling about the color, the size, the shape. You can also describe the emotion, like emotions of people or animals. That describes that person or that animal. You can also describe the sound of something, the smell, the taste, and so much more. We can describe things in lots of ways by giving lots of details. So let's practice. How can we describe using adjectives to describe this picture? Well, we can say it has a yellow star. Yellow is an adjective describing star. We can say it has a blue stripe. Blue is an adjective. It has a pink stripe. Pink's an adjective. Green stripe. Green's an adjective. Right? We can say it's pointy. We can say it's big. We can say maybe it's moving fast. We don't know. We can say it has white little, I don't know what these are, sparkles. Right? There's lots of ways to describe things. So why is it important to include adjectives in our writing? Why are we learning about adjectives? Well, we're learning about adjectives because my job is to help make you be the best writer you can be. And good writers include lots of details in their writing. And one way that we can include details is by including adjectives. When we describe things and we help paint a picture so people can see what we're talking about, that makes us good writers. By including adjectives, we help them see the details of what we're talking about, and that makes us good writers. So that's why it's important to include adjectives in your writing. Remember, we had verbs. Verbs are things we can do, right? So we've already kind of looked at this picture and looked at all these examples, but verbs are action words. They're things that you can do. To make verbs past tense, most verbs you just add the letters ed to the end of them to make them past tense, right? Talk becomes talked, watch becomes watched, laugh becomes laughed, bump becomes bumped, and move becomes moved. That's the rule. We normally just add the letters ed to the end. But of course, there's words that don't follow the rule. And those are just irregular. They just have weird spellings that you have to memorize, right? So are becomes were, is becomes was, run becomes ran, know becomes knew, eat becomes ate. Here in this picture, they show us lots of examples. So the green is the present tense and the red is the past tense. So sit, to sat, make, to made. I want you to take a screenshot of this so that you can have these irregular examples This will be helpful for you in life and also on the test. So take a screenshot so that you can have this to help you on the test. So now I want to quickly just remind you that you have lots of assignments that you can use during this test that are resources for you. So we've had our word wall assignment, the verbs assignment, your myself and adjective assignment, and all the screenshots from class if you were in live class or from this video. So those are all things that you can use to help you during this test. And lastly, there is a Kahoot. So if you go into Schoology, there's a link in today's folder for a Kahoot that you can go in and take that, hint, has a lot of the same questions as the test. So go in and take that to get some practice on the test. And then finally, take the test, right? I want you guys to do the best you can, so do your best. And I will see you guys later. If you have any questions or problems, you can always send me an email or show up to a Google Meet with me. I'll see you guys later.